This is hosted by one of the clubs in the current Stratford Preparatory Blackford High School. And we will be answering and going over topics concerning high school. And I know a lot of parents are concerned about when their kids move on to high school, the opportunities, workload, how intense high school is. We will all be going over these topics today with our high schoolers that we have brought here this evening. And to make things quick, let's directly dive into what we're going to talk about. First is definitely the curriculum. I feel the curriculum should be literally the priority on this evening. I'm sorry. So, Varun, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, could you go over your current classes, what classes you're taking, and how you feel about your current classes?
So currently I'm taking English 1, English 2, APCS, AP World History, Spanish 2, and all the PE. And right now the workload right now the classes seem the workload is pretty manageable. If you don't get distracted, you could finish your homework in 3 to 4 hours max every day. And it's sometimes it may get overwhelming, but it most of the time you can manage it pretty well.
So I noticed that you're taking 2 AP classes, one of which is definitely required, our AP World History, but is adding another AP course onto your current curriculum gonna feel any different? Like, do you feel most of the workload is coming from these 2 AP classes, or is it manageable?
There is definitely a lot of workload coming from the 2 AP classes, but there also the other classes that also have a less workload. But overall, it's if you balance it well, if you manage your time well, then it could be pretty. It's definitely pretty manageable.
Okay, thank you. Alex, can you share your current courses and how you feel about them?
All right, so I'm currently taking Algebra 2, Physics, English 1, English 2, and AP World History, and also AP Chinese and AP CSA. So for the most part, the classes are moderately challenging. It shouldn't be too difficult to keep up with. So if your student, but one exception is if your student plans on taking physics, make sure they are extremely solid in math, as students who are not as skilled in math will already have an extremely difficult time in physics. So if you aren't really strong in math, biology is overall the easier choice. So if students don't want to be stressed out or have a large workload in 9th grade, you should probably choose biology as your science course. The teachers in our classes seem to be mostly fine. However, some of them may be easier or harder. Miss Rosby's English class, which is one of the harder English classes, you'll have a harder time getting an A in that class. So if you're in her English class, you probably have to be spending more time on studying English. I'm going to be quite frank here. The physics teacher isn't the greatest. He speaks really softly, and if you don't take notes too well, you will fall behind in this class. He's not too fluent in English. So if you aren't going to be dedicating a lot of time to science, and if you don't want to deal with this teacher, I recommend you take the biology path because it's going to be much easier for you.
So I definitely agree. I'm sorry. You wanna? Okay.
No, you can.
So I definitely agree with Alex on the physics and bio path. If you're taking physics in 9th grade, AP Physics is definitely one of the choices for 10th grade. But on the courses sheet, it is rated as a 10, which is the most difficult course. And I definitely agree because AP Physics is extremely challenging, and you'll be allocating a lot of time into it in 10th grade. So like what Alex said, if you want an easier a course path in throughout high school, I definitely recommend taking the biology path, which you will retake physics in 11th grade, but it's a lot more easygoing and it requires a lot less mathematical capabilities. All right, thank you, Alex. Could we have Sonia sharing her experiences, curriculums, courses?
Yeah, so I'm taking all of my core classes as well, including English 1 and 2, AP World History, biology, and geometry, as well as Spanish 3. Outside of those, though, I am taking business and entrepreneurship as well as digital music and composition. I'd say course load wise, I took the easier path as compared to APCS students, whether they're taking APCSA and APCSP. The course load of business and entrepreneurship is much less, and it's not as difficult as you would expect. There is a lot of information, but again, course load is not as much as you'd expect. Along with that, I do suggest taking one of the more fun electives. Even though you don't get a free period out of that, it is extremely entertaining to do, as well as a great way to relieve some of the stress you take from other courses such as AP World History. I'd say course load wise, most of your core classes will be intensive. Depending on whether or not on which language course you take, it may be more or less intensive. It all depends on where you rank in terms of like Spanish 1, 2, 3, or 4, or if you're taking Spanish or Chinese, it all falls under those categories. English-wise, I'd say course load is slightly intensive, but as long as you keep up with all your reading and all of your work, it shouldn't be as difficult for you as any other courses would be.
All right, thank you so much. Before we move on to the next one, I can share my curriculum and courses. So similar to Sonia, I am taking business and music. And about these electives, there are a lot of easy electives you're able to choose, like digital media and, the music I'm taking, where you kind of just do the work, you listen, you do the work, and you turn it in. It's just kind of a free A. But there are electives like, business and then the APCS, where you need to pay more attention, and they're like actually a little more challenging and not so much of a free A. So I definitely recommend taking one easy elective and one harder elective, like for example APCS and then digital media, where you're able to kind of balance out the elective so it's not too challenging, it's not too intensive. And so for my other courses, I'm currently taking Chinese 4, AP World, Algebra 2, Biology, and both English classes. So yes, I am taking a more easier pathway. I am deciding to take AP Bio next year and Chemistry, but I'm going more on a easygoing route with only one AP course this year. And what I generally feel about it is that the course workload it's definitely at the moderate level, but sometimes during some weeks or some days, it can get really, really crampy. Like for example, on some days we'd have like some like outrageous 3 to 4 tests a day, or like a lot of projects due at the end of term, and a lot of kids would just stay up really, really, really late to finish these up. So it's definitely a more challenging workload than other high schools, as is more academic heavy. But otherwise, I feel that if you balance everything well, you should be able to manage. Allison, can you hear me?
I think she might be having some technical issues.
Okay. All right. Antonio, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, of course. Can you go over your current curriculums, courses, and how you feel about them?
Okay, so for my math class, I'm taking the honors geometry. I'll just list the courses first. For my science as well, I'm doing the same thing as Edric. I'm taking honors biology. For my English 1 and 2, it's the same as everyone else. The teachers can differ, but same course, same curriculum. I'm only taking one AP, which is AP World History. For APs, I'm not in CS, I'm in business. And I'm also in graphic design, which is offered. There's 2 levels to it in freshman year, depending on what you took in 8th grade. The way I feel about those courses is, well, the geometry course, it's the easiest level of math you can take in freshman year. So relatively, it's fairly simple. I think that it's taught very well. Just the staff in general here are very nice, very outreaching to the students. With biology, I quite enjoy it. It's one of my favorite classes, and there's lots of Kahoots hosted in them. So again, another opportunity for you to just really further your understanding of the subject if necessary, or if you just want to, if you feel that's necessary, or if it's just fun for you. As for my electives, business and graphic design is a lot more of a laid back class. It's not too overbearing. It's got very minimal amounts of work, but the work is fun. You get to make lots of things in different softwares like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. And for graphic design 1, which is the alternative course to that, it's mainly focused on 3D modeling softwares like Maya and such. As for my English classes, English 1 and 2, I have Ms. Fussell. Ms. Fussell, she teaches very well. She's very nice. Currently, we're reading these short stories and also Dracula. Sometimes you can read 2 different books because you have 2 different English classes at the same time, but generally the English 2 literature is a lot easier than the English 1 literature. As for AP World, it's gotten a lot easier over the year. The more you pay attention in class, well, the easier it gets, but that really builds up as the year continues because it's very chronologically ordered class. So it just begins from one year, one starting year in the beginning, all the way up to modern day and present, which makes it a lot easier because you can understand things as far as new subjects a lot better if you have a good understanding of previous subjects. Again, the faculty here is very nice. So if you have any questions, you can just ask.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so definitely. Another important thing to note that in high school, one problem which actually makes Stratford Preparatory High School a lot harder and challenging than other high schools is that we offer pretty much no other class other than honors. For 10th grade, the school has considered putting a non-honors pre-calculus, but it eventually got canceled. I'm actually not even so sure why. So literally the only options are honors English, honors bio, honors physics. Everything is honors, and there's no way you can take a level down. So if you feel honors is really challenging, there's actually not much you can do about it except just study harder and listen better in class.
Edric, if you don't mind, can I speak more about electives?
Of course.
All right, so for students who just want to take CS or are interested in CS, in any way, I recommend that for those who can, to get CS AP, the AP CS classes just out of the way as soon as you can in 9th grade. 2 reasons for this. First of all, the AP CSA teacher is not the greatest teacher. I'm gonna be honest. She wants everybody to do assignments and projects the exact way you have to do it, which is not realistic to the programming world. But anyways, AP CSA is probably one of the hardest AP classes you're gonna take in 9th grade. So if you can get that out of the way in 9th grade and not leave it on until 10th grade or 11th grade when you have more difficult classes, that would be a great decision. But of course, it's up to the students and their capabilities.
Although I would like to add, if you have a background if you understand and have done CS for a while, you can get a grasp on AP CSA pretty quickly and actually persevere at the end of the school year.
Thanks, Varun and Alex, for that important contribution. One more pretty important question is the PE class well structured? It's actually a quite interesting question because Stratford does do PE differently than other high schools. So could we have Allison explaining her opinion on our current structure of the PE curriculum?
Okay, so basically, unlike the PE classes that you probably experience, your child has probably experienced during middle school or elementary school, our PE class is mostly focused on your well-being rather than making you run a mile and timing it and all that stuff. So in the beginning, we basically do those basic stretches that are that allows you to not be as injured as much throughout the class. And then later you'll do a sheet which will track how you're feeling, your mood, if you're feeling any injuries. And throughout that, basically, you would also learn about how to eat healthy and like healthy practices. So you'll be like have both be healthy both mentally and physically. It's a lot different, like I said, on how you're feeling rather than like trying to be physically fit. Yeah, that's basically it. Overall, it's really different. I guess it's a really big experience, like new experience.
If you don't mind, may I speak on this as well?
Of course.
I'd say it's much more tailored to a student's personal needs than just making them do a sport for a few weeks during the school year. Overall, it's much better, in my opinion, than other PE curriculums that could be offered.
If you don't mind, can I just say something?
Oh yeah, well, if you have something to say, you could just.
All right, yeah. So essentially, this PE class is going to be a lot more sedentary than other PE classes. So if your student, it's not really well geared towards people who are active or want to do sports. If your student is really interested in sports, Stratford probably isn't the best school for that, to be honest. But this PE class, yeah, it's kind of a drag to do because most of the time you're going to be doing worksheets about health and physical education. Like it's more health than a PE. But of course, it's a pass and fail class. So as long as you try, you shouldn't have that hard of a time in PE. Just make sure not to give the teacher a bad attitude or she's probably going to be on your tail.
If you are looking for some sports to do, I definitely recommend the extracurriculars we offer, like track, tennis, badminton. All those are pretty good substitutes for an actual PE class.
Right. So more on that.
If I may add on. So, all our extracurriculars for sports, there's like lots of different options because they're seasonal. So during term 2, last season we had basketball season. We had a basketball team. We now currently have track, tennis, things like that. Track also, I'm not sure because I've never been in track, but it's different from what I at least expected because we have certain things like discus and as well involved in track. So, I mean, if you just want a way to sort of customize the way you want to do sports, then you just have the ability to take more initiative on that. As for PE being, I feel like Alex summarized it very well. As for like people that want to use PE just as a way to get rid of their physical energy, it's not really geared toward that. We rarely get like free time to go play sports or like basketball in the gym. But when we do, it is fun. It's just sort of like an escape from all the other stressful classes. So even then, you just kind of sit, fill out a worksheet, do stretches and flexibility exercises. But if you want to emphasize sports a lot more and you still want to go with Stratford, then you also have lots of customization abilities.
Thank you. Well, I definitely feel I agree with what everyone said. The Stratford PE curriculum is definitely not for if you want to like work out or like relying on the PE course for staying fit or getting too much exercise from this PE course. It's definitely not for that. If you want to maintain your health or like your current fitness, I would definitely recommend taking one of the sports that Stratford offers. Like for example, this season I'm doing track and field, which is definitely a very nice addition to, it definitely helps with my fitness that I'm lacking from the PE. And like what Allison said, we are doing like learning about nutrition, personal benefits, setting our personal goals, which I definitely feel is important to a student's development and growth. But in terms of actual, literally physical benefit, I wouldn't actually say it's not too good for that. So let's touch on another very important topic: sleep schedule. So a lot of high schools do have this problem, but it's actually quite evident in Stratford because teachers have seen a lot of students complaining about their sleep schedule and when they sleep. So I'm feeling now we can share some, our current time management how late we sleep, our homework workload, and maybe like some tips on how to manage the current workload. And we can start with Alex.
All right, so on a daily basis, I have about 3 hours of homework if I'm efficient, depending on whether or not I have a project or a test. If I have a test, I recommend students to start reviewing for the test either a week or 3 days before you have the test, because reviewing for a test is a pretty large thing to do, and added onto your homework, you're going to have to spend a lot of time reviewing for a test. So get a head start on reviewing for tests. For projects, you have to plan out your time evenly for projects. Some projects can be done if you really want to in 2 days. Some projects are going to take an entire week to do. So if you have a project, essentially write a time plan or a schedule, write it on paper or print it out on Excel sheet to make sure that you have a good plan on when to do your project. Otherwise, you'll be working until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. On a daily basis, I sleep at about 12 o'clock or 12:30, depending on if I have sports, which is pretty reasonable. And I expect that most incoming high schoolers can achieve the same.
All right. Varun, would you like to share?
I have a pretty similar 3 hours, 4 hours of workload every day, but I'm a person that gets really easily distracted. So sometimes I usually stay up quite late. I usually sleep around maybe 11 to 12 maybe, and on like a day before a test or there's like a lot of assignments due, I stay up until like 1 to 3 on a really bad day. But if necessary, you could obviously maybe you could catch up on your sleep during the weekend. I'm not saying this is a good idea per se, but if you really need to, you could always go higher hours.
Okay, thank you. Sonia, would you like to share your sleep schedule, workload, planning?
Okay, I'd say in the way you're describing it, I'm not the best example personally. My sleep schedule is kind of messed up, but as like Varun, I also get distracted relatively easy. So there are certain days where I can be really efficient and actually get my work done by around, I'd say maybe 9, 10 o'clock and sleep relatively early. But there are some days where I do stay up late. I also do have around a 3 to 4 hour workload, sometimes a bit less, depending on how many courses assigned homework or like how many tests I have upcoming. But it's just like a general idea. My sleep on the weekdays can go anywhere from maybe like 5 to 9 hours of sleep if I'm really lucky. On weekends, it does get pretty long. I'd say don't trust me on this because I do a lot of other things for my own free time, but I do also not take any types of sports. So I'd say if your kid doesn't take sports or has like an extracurricular going up till around 6 o'clock, they have a pretty good chance of sleeping early.
All right, Edric, can I say something?
Of course.
Okay, so for any parents that are listening, I recommend that you either install parental controls on your child's computer or just take away their phone when they're doing homework, because it's really easy to get distracted with technology when you're doing homework, and that essentially makes your sleeping schedule a lot worse and will impact you in school. Like at the beginning of the year, I had trouble adjusting to a lot of homework, so I often fell asleep during class, which is pretty terrible. But as soon as my parents started taking away my phone, started monitoring my screen time usage more, it became evident that it helped my sleep schedule a lot more. So for any parents that are listening, if your child does have a really bad sleep schedule, try to limit their use of technology a little more, so that can improve their sleep schedule by a lot.
All right, thank you, Alex.
Well,
If you want to share, yeah, of course.
All right. So, as for sleep schedule, I feel like I'm not really the best example because it varies a lot with me. I like my dedication towards completing the workload. I'd say again, there's an average of 3 to 4, maybe 3 to 5 hours. It can vary during the day. As for sleep, I get maybe 6 hours maximum during weekdays, maybe like 5. But that's mainly just because I have to wake up earlier to get to the bus. If you do the bus program, again, that's another thing to take into consideration, just transportation to the school. There's also the fact that, well, you can sort of manage your time based off of your work, and the more experience you have within like the classes as far as your own abilities and also what you know you'll be able to do during the classes. You can also put off some certain things like, for example, business projects. I usually do those a lot later because, well, not later in the day, but later relatively. I can get most of the work done during class, and then finish it off like later in the night because it's not really much priority for me because I know I have the opportunity during business, so I can cut down the workload a lot. As for like distraction, it's certainly a good idea for parents, right, to sort of minimize pretty much any distraction any students could have during the work. But if it's not reasonable, then you sort of have to, as a student, look inwards towards, your own health as a result of these distractions. If you believe truly that it's not that much of a deal, then you could continue to work with them. But if you're a little bit further from the school and you're taking harder classes, then I would certainly recommend putting the phone in like another room on your own, if you could. So.
Well, I definitely agree with Tony on the distractions one. Like, if you see a Discord notification, it's like extremely tempting to click on it and just type an answer to a friend. But just by doing that, it completely throws you off your thought process where you were. Another definitely what Tony hit on when he was talking was transportation, and I feel it's like something really important. It's how far you live away from your school. Like, a lot of kids that are taking that are in Stratford Preparatory High School, they only live like 10 to 15 minutes away. They live in San Jose, but whereas a lot of people like Tony and I, we live in Fremont, which the drive is around, I said, 40 to 50 minutes away and like an hour of traffic. So we'd have to get up like I said, 45 minutes earlier than other people, which definitely makes us more tired and like relying too much on sleeping on the bus, which definitely isn't too healthy. But otherwise, I'd say that it's all right. The transportation, if you live closer to the school, that's definitely a lot better. Like, waking up at 8 every day, which is actually a pretty late waking up schedule for a high schooler. If you look at other high schools, they wake up at 6 to 7. Whereas Stratford Preparatory High School, the classes start at 8:30, which is really relaxing. In terms of how early school starts. Allison, can you share with us your sleep schedule and time management?
Okay, so I also don't think I'm a very good example because basically I take a club every day. So usually I would take the late bus. But then like for some days when like clubs cancel or like I need to go home for homework, then I would go home early through the bus transportation. But for me, my homework, I think I spend like probably longer than other people. I spend maybe like 4 to 5 hours on homework, which is probably really bad for me. But I think it really depends on how much homework the school gives you, because on some weeks, the school will give you really minimal amount of homework and there won't be a lot of tests to study for. So you can sleep a lot earlier. But then on some days, personally, I feel like sometimes we would get 4 tests in a week and it would cause a lot of studying. And then sometimes there's a lot of projects, which causes me to stay up a lot later. I think it depends on really how you manage your time. Because like many other people have said, like, the phone can be a distraction and so can your electronic. But personally for me, I cannot have my phone taken away because sometimes students need to rely on other students through their phone. Like for me, I'm in physics, so I need to rely on my friends sometimes for help. for that. So it really depends on like how you want to like manage your distractions. But then other than that, I think if you manage your time well and like you try and like force yourself not to be distracted, I feel like you can sleep at a relatively good time for high school. Like don't stay up past 1 most of the time. So I think that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Allison. For me, I like the others. I'm not too much of a good example, but on a lot of occasions, I do actually get to sleep pretty early, or at least get off the screen early and just go downstairs and do my own thing. But what I would recommend is for the parents is taking one extracurricular course that is actually matching to one of the current courses you're taking in school. Like, for example, I'm taking biology outside of school, and this helps out a lot because it actually kind of like eliminates one of the course workloads that the school requires me to do. Like for all the biology homework, I can just finish in 10 to 15 minutes because I don't need to do any of the reading since I've already gone through the concepts in my class, which actually eliminates a lot of work that the classes offer you. So that is definitely one tip that will help. Even though a lot of people say, you're learning this and you're learning this again, it's all repetition. It's not really, the best way to go. But I feel that if you learn it once and you learn it again, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable about it. You're going to score a lot higher on the tests. And on that note, we can probably move on to the next topic about, are we able to take our desired courses throughout high school? So that's an interesting topic. Varun, why don't you start us off? Are you able to pick what courses you want in Stratford?
I definitely think there should be a bit more variety. I mean, right now, all we're focusing around is CS and business. I would love to see more of a, maybe even like, I know there's going to be like AP psychology in 11th grade, but I would have loved to see that in earlier stages of high school, and maybe even some other sciences or even just more variety in general. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Vern. What I like to add is that I honestly feel that for desired courses, you can definitely take what you want throughout the next couple years in high school. And this is mainly due to the fact that there's actually not much high schoolers in this school. Like, I'm pretty sure the current freshman grade has like 70 students. So if you want to take like APCS, you're completely welcome to. If there's new courses opening up, unlike public schools where there's a lot of competition for courses and extracurriculars that the school offers, and there's maybe some chances that you might not get to this elective that you want, or like there's a lot of other students that want this elective and then you might just in the end just not get it. You don't have to worry about it in Stratford. I definitely feel that's not a concern because well, first, we have a lot of students, and second, the school is able to divide the students in such a way that teachers are able to teach multiple classes at once. So I would definitely not worry about not being able to get what courses you want, what classes you want. Alex, would you like to add something?
So yeah, generally you're going to be able to take whatever courses you want to take. One of the main concerns I've seen from a lot of parents, a lot of counselors, is that Stratford doesn't offer the normal courses a school would offer. For example, in 10th grade, there is no AP US History, which is one of the most important courses for American colleges to look at. So that's kind of concerning. I'm not sure what our counselor, advisor, course planner plans on doing with that, but for any for any parents that are listening, that may be a concern, which is Stratford's course plan compared to other schools. Normally, I see a question on the spreadsheet that says, do most students take 8 courses? Yes, most students generally take 8 courses in 10th, 11th grade because you're going to try to get as many courses as you can in those 2 grades because those 2 grades are the most important. And in 10th grade, you're going to take about 3 to 4 APs, so the workload's going to be pretty large. But as you grow older, you're going to be able to manage that.
Okay, Sonia, would you like to share?
Yeah, sure. So me personally, unlike most of the students here at Stratford, I am not going into a STEM route. I am planning to go into law once I graduate from my undergrad degree. So in terms of courses, I'd say there isn't as much for students who are planning to go into more of that side instead of STEM. Stratford is an extremely STEM focused school. I've been here my entire life, and most of the time I see STEM going around. We are trying to push for more courses in the field of more on humanities to be integrated into the curriculum for junior and senior year. But as of now, I'd say there are slightly less courses. There are still plenty of them. There's American government, there's AP comparative government, and some others. But still, it is a bit more challenging for people who are planning to go into that field later in life.
If I could just speak on continuing what Sonia just said about law and things, as someone else who's also interested in that field, I've asked around a couple times. I've asked the administration as far as certain clubs that we can open later. I know next year student-run clubs are going to be very possible, and one of those is going to be most likely mock trials. If any of you have heard of it, it's basically just a majorly high school competitive league of trials that have already been solved, but under aliases. And not the whole thing is given to you. So you can assign yourself different teams within your own club, or maybe even participate in a league and decide to decipher evidence or anything like that. Have someone that's there for you, I forgot the word, but it's just an adult that can run the club as well.
So a lot of other STEM opportunities.
Well, there's opportunities that are not STEM related, but you can learn them in more creative ways, is what I'm saying.
I think most students in Stratford are going to be geared towards STEM, especially the incoming 9th graders. So Stratford is an amazing school for STEM, but for extracurriculars, one thing parents and students might be worried about is robotics club. If you're interested in robotics club, the people that are running robotics club, working in robotics club, not the best people. They're going to be skipping club a lot. So if you are going to go into robotics club, I recommend you try to get a leadership role or try to have a more active role in a robotics team, because our robotics team right now is not the greatest. So we would want a lot more skillful robotic enthusiasts to help our club.
So right now I'm in robotics, and right now we have a junior varsity team and a varsity team. We're looking to make more teams for junior varsity and one main team for varsity. So for varsity, we're focusing on FPC, and the varsity team is composed of 15 people. And this past year, a lot of the people have not has skipped club and not actually actively participated. However, our varsity robotics team has done extremely well in the competitions, and we're qualified for states, I believe. I was in junior varsity, in which half the team was not participating, so that didn't really go well. However, if you're interested in robotics but not fully interested in robotics, varsity team is 5 days a week, which is you have to dedicate a lot of your time to that. But junior varsity is two times a week, and it's actually pretty fun, in my opinion.
Yeah, since it seems we're kind of talking about clubs now, I just like to say, in terms of the non-STEM areas, there is also Model E. I don't know if most of you know about it, but it's a club where basically you go to mock UN conferences where you debate world issues. I'd say it is different from mock trial, but it's also a great way to start out right now in terms of more political type things.
Okay, so through this discussion, we're able to conclude, well, definitely Stratford is a STEM-heavy school, but there are opportunities that vary from or diverge from STEM. But although there are things like, Model UN, mock trials, it is still definitely really, really academic heavy, as you can already see from, an AP course in freshman year, which most high schools don't even do. And we have like immediately 2 English classes stuffed into 1 grade, which is ridiculously hard to manage. And, we get readings from both English classes. All right, so let's move on to the next topic about course planning. Moving on to 10th grade, what courses are we doing? What, career? Well, maybe not that big of a scope, like just general courses we're going to take or deciding to take, or even just considering in throughout this high school. So, Allison, could you share with us, what's your thought process, or like what you have already planned for your future high school years?
Okay, so for course planning, when we choose our courses, we actually talk with Mr. Harrison, who is our counselor, and then he would explain how our courses will help lead us and fill in the requirements for getting the colleges we want. For me, I chose for next year the ones that are required. So honors English seminar, honors pre-calculus, honors chemistry, Spanish 4, honors American history and government. And then there's the electives, which you can choose on your own based on your own interests. It's required to take a creative arts course. So for the incoming 9th graders, the offered courses are visual arts, digital media, graphic design, and digital music and composition. And depending on your child's interest, you can choose whichever one you like to. And most of these clubs are usually most of these electives are usually really relaxed and laid back, so it won't put too much stress on your child when they're in high school. And then there's the other elective courses, which in 9th grade is the AP Computer Science Business. And this year, they're going to be offering a healthcare science, which is really centered towards healthcare if your child's really interested in that. I think mostly when you choose your courses, most of them are required, but then the ones that you can choose, which are electives, I feel like you can mainly just choose them off your interest. It doesn't really have to be something you're forced to do. You're really given a lot of options for Stratford so far. So yeah, mainly it's just off your interest and what you want to be in the future.
So definitely one point about this course planning is, as Allison mentioned, we do have I'm sure if you didn't meet him already, Mr. Chang, he is our, I'd say advisor, our course planner. And what he does is that he will make out the courses for you, depending on, how you feel about the current workload, what career path they're going to take, or what specific path they're going to show the colleges. I'm taking a business path here. I'm taking a computer science path here. And another very important point is that for most high schools, the courses slowly get more difficult. So it's saying the first year, no APs, next year, some APs. And then as you're moving on to 12th grade, you're getting a lot more APs, a lot more courses, course difficulty is going up. But that is really different for Stratford. And so Mr. Chang made our courses in a way that our courses will, the difficulty will stay the same, and if not, get easier. So why is this important? So this is for number one, we have a lot more time on, spending time on college applications, writing the college essays, and actually just considering which colleges we have to do in our later years of high school, just more on the important stuff rather than the current academics and curriculum. Another important thing is that this will make 9th grade actually ridiculously hard, because for such a young age and you're exposed to AP courses already, you're going to feel overwhelmed, which is exactly why pretty much everyone here is a bad example of a sleep schedule. We're getting these courses in 9th grade, but as we move on, it's definitely going to get easier. So I would recommend you just don't get afraid of all these ninth grade courses, because throughout the years it will definitely get easier. So with our current time, we have 15 minutes left in this meeting. I feel we can definitely move into Q&A. All the concerns from the parents, you can just speak them out, and then we're going to see what our high schoolers have as an answer for you. You're just welcome to unmute and share your question.
So what are the typical size for the class?
Right. So for
the elective.
all right. So for most classes, core classes, math, English, history, science, it's going to be about 15 people per class, depending on which class you take. For electives, it differs. For example, like AP Chinese will have very few students, but digital media may have a lot of students. It completely depends on the student's interests, but all electives will still be offered. So for electives, it's going to be a smaller class, and for core subjects, it can be large classes. Does that answer the question?
So large class is around like 15.
15 people, yeah. But of course, since there's more students coming in, it can go to 20 people. It can increase the class size, right?
So on Alex's point, the school will definitely keep the number of people per class regulated, in that it won't go past 30 something, which is just kind of ridiculous numbers. Even if the class has like a lot of demand and a lot of students are taking it, you probably will not see more than 20 something students per class.
Right. I think Andrew has a question. Andrew, if you want to ask a question, just unmute.
Yeah. So my mom was asking if it's competitive to get into those extracurricular activities like tennis.
This year, I can answer that.
It's not really competitive. I think mainly it's just really for like sports, for example. I think you automatically get in. It's just you're gonna have a coach to like get you through the basics and like learn how to at least play the sports. For competitive clubs like Model UN, DECA, Science Olympiad, those are also basically none of them are really competitive to get in. You just need the coach and advisor will teach you through the basics and how to get through all the competition.
Right. So contrary to that, there are some competitive clubs on campus that will have cut people. For example, if you're trying to play a popular sport like basketball or volleyball, you're probably going to have to go through tryouts and you might get cut. But as long as you try, you shouldn't be getting cut from the team.
Oh, does Andrew have another question?
What food vendor do they use?
We use Epicurean. It's kind of not well known, but
It's good food, I can assure that.
Yeah, it tastes better than Choice Lunch.
For sure. Good.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, so you mentioned for 10th or 11th grade students, most have 8 courses, right? So how about the freshmen?
Freshmen, it differs. Some people have chosen not to take courses. If I'm not wrong, it's about, Edric, how many courses do we have? 7 or 6?
No, for ninth grade.
Ninth grade.
Yeah.
In total?
8.
Oh,
Yeah,
right. We do have 8 classes. But electives don't really count. Like music or digital media is not going to be challenging to any student. We actually have about 7 classes.
And if you're in the business course as well, you do get 2 free periods once in a while, so that's good.
Yeah.
All right, does that answer the question?
So electives doesn't count, but that means
Elective does count, but it's not like a hard class. So you don't have homework for electives. Like for art electives.
yeah.
Art electives, yeah. APCS is still elective. It's going to be probably the hardest elective.
Right, so most students take 2 electives.
2 electives. One that is art and one that is technology or business.
Right. So I heard Mr. Chen said APCSA is kind of very hard.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard, yeah.
what's the GPA so far?
It really does vary from person to person. Some people,
yeah, I'm gonna answer that right now. So for the majority of our class, APCSA is gonna be very hard, especially the AP test as well. The teacher does try to do her best to smooth out the grades, so try to bump your grade a little bit. But if you plan on taking APCSA, take it in 9th grade because it can damage your GPA in 9th grade. But 9th grade GPA is not as important as 10th grade GPA, right?
Okay.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, okay. And okay, yeah, thank you.
Right, and also for any parents that are listening and students, honors chemistry is going to be apparently a mandatory course in 10th grade. So, yeah.
I have another question. So like, sorry, one second, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, I had a question. I presume the new course of healthcare and a new club on HOSA will be introduced this year.
Oh yeah.
Is any of you guys like from the who are going to 10th grade also trying to take that, and do you have any more information on that? I know it's not currently there, but whatever is upcoming, if you guys have any information towards those two clubs and course.
So it is going to be like a more competitive club for students who are choosing the medical path. I have considered HOSA, but I am doing Science Olympiad next year. And, since it is not currently a club, I don't have much information about it. But it will be something similar to like DECA, where you guys like travel places and do competitions around the region.
Yeah, I have some friends from other schools who are in their own HOSA team. It's apparently pretty good, especially for students who are going into the medical and healthcare field. So if you want to go for it, just sign up.
And addressing the question on the healthcare class, the class is probably going to be similar to business. So not work heavy, but still covers some basic medical and healthcare subjects. Does that answer the question?
Got it. And there won't be any AP like business for that particular course stream, right?
Business?
I don't think there should be.
Business in the first year, you will be taking business 2. If you continue with the curriculum throughout all 4 years of your high school experience, you will then go into business 2, and then junior and senior year, you will enter business seminars. I'm pretty sure it's going to be, from what I've heard, from what I know, is going to be somewhat similar to the English seminars course we'll be taking next year, but of course, all business, and we'll be discussing it with professors who are specialized in those fields.
Right, so no AP business, AP.
Yeah, no AP business, just seminars.
Well, I don't know if this is actually relevant or not, but we do have one AP business course, which is AP Macro. This will be, so AP Macro.
Yeah, it falls into economics.
Yeah, this is if you choose the path for Business 1 and then Business 2 in 10th grade, and then you're going to take AP Macro. This is for the business career students, and I believe this is so far the only business-related AP the school offers.
There is also AP Economics, from what I know. Just plain old economics.
Okay,
sure. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Great.
Yeah, for the AP courses, other than the teachers, the textbook, they are also required parents' resources, other resources like parents' book.
Right.
On that, wait, can I? Yeah, I'm not for it. So there is an AP website which actually you are registering for your AP on. It's called College Board. It has a ton of resources on there, and in fact, our current AP World History teacher is telling us to watch videos on College Board, and it is really helpful. It has every single unit, and they have videos for it, practices for it. As for extra resources, I do have extra resources, but I don't believe it's necessary to the level where you actually have to, continuously study them. I feel like you can just currently pay a lot of attention to your current AP class that you're taking at school. Do the homework well, and you just get an A in that class, and maybe just study a little on College Board. And I would honestly feel you're set for the AP exam.
Okay.
Alex.
Right. So I think you will be needing to buy Barron's books. Like I have two of them. I have the AP World History and the AP CSA. Especially for more challenging AP classes such as computer science, you're going to need a lot of practice with the type of problems that they give. So I would recommend buying Barron's books for AP classes that your student is having trouble taking. But for easier AP classes that they find that like your student may find to be easy, you don't have to buy Barron's necessarily, but it's always a good choice.
Yeah, how about AP World History?
AP World History, it's a lot of memorization, and we do take an AP essentially mock exam for World History every single week. So as long as you're paying attention in those, it should be okay. But I've also bought the Barron's book in case I need extra practice. So it's always a good choice, always a good thing to buy the Barron's book if you can. But if you can't, you don't have to.
Okay, thank you.
As well, just discussing the AP World History. Just to wrap it up, is on top of the homework that we get as practice exams on just the unit that we've covered that week, we also occasionally get these in-person, written exams, sections of them, such as DBQs, LEQs, which stand for document-based questions, and long essay questions. These tend to just be the majority of what you spend your time on these practice tests, and what you will spend your time, the majority of your time on the actual AP test. Again, you also have the chance to we have the choice to just not sign up for it if you don't want to take the AP test, but we also do get those, and our teacher, Mr. Jackman, he's very, very open about practicing these, and he's very willing to help if you have any question at all.
Yeah, I'd like to add on to the course itself in preparation for the AP exam. Our teacher, Mr. Jackman, has encouraged us to become not experts per se, but more focused towards a specific time period in history. Say you're doing like the 1700s to modern day. If you're focused in that, if you're focused in one specific part of history and have a good idea of what's happening in other sections, you should generally be very well prepared for the test, as they will have a multitude of options for you to select in terms of time periods, especially for like document-based questions and long essay questions.
Right, so does anybody have any other?
So for most public high schools, there are there are required community service hours.
Oh yeah.
So for Stratford, are there any community service hours?
There are clubs designed to give you community service hours, for example, Key Club. But in Stratford, community service hours are not required, but it's always very good to do community service hours. You can join Key Club, or you can find organizations outside that will allow you to do community service hours.
There's also a lot of colleges, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Chang was talking about you should have at least 100 hours by the end of all 4 years of community service.
Yeah, it's overall a good thing.
Mr. Chang, right, so our college counselor said to recommend to do community service hours in the 12th grade and in the 9th grade, because those grades have the least workload compared to 10th and 11th. So take what you will from that. Does anybody have any
also
other
the
questions?
summer.
Does everyone?
Also take do a lot of community service over the summer. That'd be really helpful.
You have time for like one more question.
Yeah.
Wait, do all tests matter in high school?
Yeah, all tests will matter in high school. But for certain classes, if the entire class doesn't do well on a test, you can retake the test for a maximum percentage of 80. But that's the best you will be offered. All tests do matter in high school.
80 being a passing grade. We consider, just by the way, if we haven't already discussed this, the way Stratford does its grading, we don't have pluses or minuses, like most other high schools. We just have A's, B's, and C's, so it pretty much minimalizes the difference from a 90 to a 99, but hugely increases the difference from an 89 to a 90. So that's why 80 is the lowest grade or the highest grade you can get with a practice test, because that is what is considered passing.
Right. So does Wei Liu have a question?
Yeah, I'll try to make it quick. Do you have a school organized tournament, or is tournament usually like your own choice and you take care of it by yourself?
Wait, tournaments for what?
tournaments for anything, like tournaments for math, tournaments for
There-
tennis, all these
Yes,
things.
school
There are
organizes.
tournaments in like
competitive clubs.
One
and
person at a
also
time.
in math.
1% at a time.
There's AMCs and ASMAs, I'm pretty sure.
Right. So the short answer is that school organizes all tournaments, but you can do tournaments outside of school if you want.
Okay, so both. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Are there any more questions or? Okay, great. I mean, I hope everyone was able to, leave with something they didn't know before. Like they feel a little bit more knowledgeable about high school. And on that remark, I believe we can conclude today's evening meeting. I'm so glad that everyone was able to show up. All the donations or the tickets that everyone paid for will be used for the Global Seas Microfinancing Club, and this will be invested in like poor regions around the world, like in Africa where they're like still developing farms, or in Ukraine, and many parts in the world that just need this type of financing and funding. So we really appreciate you being here today, and other than that, thank you for being here. We can end today's meeting.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.